The first thing I thought, the R. Kelly messing with young girls started before I had ever even heard about R. Kelly. Okay, the first time I heard something about R. Kelly was, I want to say he was married. No, actually, I don't remember. At the time hearing he was married to Aaliyah, I don't remember that happening at the time. I remember him later on hearing that he was married to Aaliyah, but at the time I didn't hear it. The first time I heard about R. Kelly was he peed on a girl. And I don't remember what year that was, but that was the first time that I had Kevin Fredericks personally heard anything about R. Kelly, was that he peed on a girl. And before I even go on, I was thinking about this video, and I've got to admit, I am complicit in part of the problem. So I heard that he peed on a girl, okay? And that was like early 2000s, I believe. And unfortunately, and I feel bad about this, that didn't really stop me from listening to his music at that time. Okay? I still consumed his music after hearing he peed on the girl. Okay? Trapped in the Closet, I think, was around that time. I only recently, like the last 2 or 3 years, have been like, all right, I'm done. So I got to keep it 1,000 with myself, because I usually get on here and talk about everybody else, but I got to keep it 1,000 with myself. I did not stop when I first heard about it. And I think that is part of the reason, a big part of the reason that he was untouchable for so long, is because people just didn't stop. They didn't stop him. They weren't affected by his music. His sales weren't affected. And since the record industry was like, well, people ain't really tripping, they continue to protect him. The people around him continue to protect him. So I got to own my part in the continuation of his, who he is. No, we did not, as a people, until very recently, stand up and say, yo, enough. I'm not listening to his music. None of that. So I know that man, that's like 15, 16 years before I stopped cold. I stopped cold turkey probably about a year and a half ago. And that was before the documentary. So let's jump back into the documentary. So his first 2 songs. So the first R. Kelly song that I ever heard as a kid was Bump and Grind. And I think he had Sex Me and something about honey drop or honey kiss or something like that. And I didn't know about that until the documentary. Bump and Grind, my mind's telling me no, was the first time Honey Love, that's what it was. Honey Love. So I learned about Honey Love on the documentary. And I never bought an R. Kelly album personally. I've told y'all before, my parents only listened to gospel music. Everything else I heard was what my brother listened to or my friends. So I didn't personally know anybody who would listen to the whole album, so I didn't hear about Honey Love. So when I'm watching the documentary, I'm like, yo, before he even blew up, he was like going to the high schools and picking up girls, and he was like 21 and they were 14. So the thing that is the most constant theme that was the most surprising for me in the whole documentary is that lots of people not only knew, but they enabled him. Like, his team would go to the mall and pick up girls for him. Okay? They would like see some shade, not even shady stuff. They would see him, like the dude on the documentary with the braided back hair. He was like, a couple of times I saw him having sex and I was like, that's an underage girl. And that ain't my problem. Okay, so it's a whole, like, in my mind, for whatever reason, I thought it was just like him, the girl, and maybe the parents knew. But there is like way more people who were active in the procurement of underage girls, bringing them to him, and then like seeing what was going on. And the unfortunate truth is when I imagine when you're working for him, that's your job, people ain't finna really try and mess up their check. Okay, like, that's probably the unfortunate truth. People ain't gonna mess up their check. So they say if you're his assistant or tour manager and he says go get me some girls, he literally means children, like 14 years old, 15 years old. And people knew, now they're on a documentary like I know that was wrong, and you know that I can see now that was wrong. But and honestly, and I can tell you guys from being in Hollywood, that's part of the reason why celebrities and famous people are terrible people, because when you're a producer or you're in production and you're on the crew, and this even happened with my kids, it is your job to keep the talent happy. Okay, so when my kids were really young, this is part of the reason why we pulled them back from Hollywood. My kid, my youngest son, he was like 3 or 4 when he was in the business. He would have an attitude, and he'd be like, I'm not shooting until I get fruit snacks. So, or I want a banana. And they'd have all this crafty table spread of full food, and he'd be like, but I want a banana. And the producer would be like, we'll send the PA to go get you a banana. What kind of banana? We'll get you an organic banana. We'll get you green bananas. We'll get you ripe bananas, unripe banana candy. And I stepped in and I was like, no, my son, if he's at home, ain't no bananas at home, ain't no bananas. You can eat what is available for everybody else to eat, or you cannot eat. But that doesn't happen a lot. Most parents of children actors, they are equally as bad as the kids. So you grow up entitled, and people don't care. They don't care about, like, for instance, if he wants ice cream or fruit snacks, they'll give it to him. They don't care about his dental bill, whatever. It is my job to keep you happy. And a good production assistant or good producer keeps their talent happy. So I know that people are doing their job, or they feel like they're doing their job by keeping R. Kelly, who's the talent, happy. And he's like, oh, this is my guy. This is my man. He does whatever you want. Same thing with Brett Ratner. The part of the reason he got into the game is he brought girls for all these other stars, and that was his thing in his role in the Me Too movement. And that's what they said. He even admitted that. So I can see how that part works. So, and then as part of the complicit thing, I was also thinking, like, people didn't know. People in his circle didn't know. But Sparkle talked about this. She was one of his artists. She had known about the rumors, seen the rumors, and knew his likes, and still let her niece be around R. Kelly. And from the documentary was like teasing a little bit, but from what it looks like is the niece, Sparkle's niece, is the one that he peed on in that videotape. Because towards the end of the second episode, the girl was talking about, hey, man, this is kind of, it starts off like this, and then they end up having a threesome. And then I know this girl's underage, but I'm kind of scared. And next thing you know, we're videotaping, and it kind of led us, it teases. So I don't know exactly, because I don't know for sure, but it looks like they're teasing it that Sparkle's niece was the one. And R. Kelly, in the whole like sex slaves thing that was more recent, it was a lot of parents who were like, my kid wants to be a star. I'm handing him over, or I'm handing her over to him to help her career. And so that leads me to my next point of like seeing how, like, you hear R. Kelly has sex slaves, and you're just like, how would anybody be a sex slave? People are strong, this and that. How do you even get there? And the girls really talked about it, and I had never really, like, I'm not really a manipulative person, and I don't really know how that works. But what they explained actually made a lot of sense to me. It doesn't start with, hey, you're my sex slave. It starts with manipulation, which is small things. Hey, call me daddy. Just call me daddy. That's what I like. I don't, don't call me R. Like, this is our relationship. Call me daddy. And the girls are like, yeah, I mean, at first you're like, okay, I mean, that's weird, but it's not that weird. So whatever, I'll call you daddy. And then it goes from call me daddy to, hey, you know what? I like when you wear this. I like you in these clothes. So here's the clothes I want you to wear. And they're like, okay, I mean, call you daddy, no big deal. And you like me in these clothes. I'll wear these clothes. And then it's like, and you know what? This is me and you, girl. Just talk to me. Don't really talk to anybody else. And I don't really want anybody else talking to you. And the girls were saying how, like, it gets progressively more and more weird. And I see people are calling it grooming, but it's not like overt. And the psychologists were talking about this. It's never like, move into my sex dungeon. It's call me daddy. I like these clothes, wear these clothes. Don't really talk to anybody, talk to me. And if you want something to eat, ask me and I'll take care of you. And then next thing you know, you don't have your phone, you don't have your own clothes, you got to ask him when to eat and all that type of stuff. And now you are like fully engaged. And even like the sex slave thing, it doesn't start like that. Apparently he has, in his studio, he had beds in there. And they were saying like this room had a room with the girl in it. That room had a room with the girl in it. This room had a room with the girl in it. This room had a room with the girl in it. So the girls are just walking in and they're just like, man, this is like kind of weird. But like, I'm also low-key scared. And also, here's the thing how this works. They are young. Like 14 is really young. So if this man's 25, 30 years old and you're 14, you don't have the mental capacity to defeat a grown man who is been manipulating girls your age for his whole life. Like my son is 12. He'll be 14 next year. Wow. He'll be 13 this year. Wow. Dang. He'll be 14 next year. There's no way he's going to be able to withstand manipulation from an adult woman or man. Like when you're 25, 30, you're like, nah, bro, I ain't calling you daddy. I'm 35 years old. Boy, what you talking about? What? No, you out your mind. But when you're 14 and he's huge, star, celebrity, and, like all that stuff, plus your age. Well, my son is 12 now. He will be 13 this year. And next year he will be 14. He has not had his birthday yet. So y'all talking to me like I don't know how old my son is or will be. It's January. This year he'll turn 13. Next year he'll turn 14. Okay, I know my children. I know math. Thank you. So like I was saying, because a couple of people was like 12 to 14, how you did that? Do you know how birthdays work? It's January. It's January. So anyway, that part is like, oh, so that's why you stayed with young girls, because an adult woman is probably more difficult to manipulate. Maybe not impossible, because there were some women who were older when they met him, but almost every woman who met him, they in the documentary made a point to tell the age. Nobody who met him so far when they weren't a teenager. First start off 14, 15, then a couple 17s, and the oldest I saw was like maybe 19. But nobody else said I met R. Kelly when I was 35. It was none of that. It was all mostly 14 to 17. Okay, so whew. So that's a couple things I want to say. Here's the next thing that I thought was super weird that I didn't really put together. The backup dancer was saying like this documentary part was called Hiding in Plain Sight. And first of all, the Pied Piper of R&B. He was called the Pied Piper of R&B. And I never bothered until maybe last year to look up what a Pied Piper was. So the Pied Piper, if you don't know, was a mythical character who played the flute to lure young children to follow him. Okay? Now, that to me sounds like too close to be coincidental. Okay? So I didn't know what the Pied Piper was. I didn't even know. I didn't even know why he called himself that. I just was like, oh, okay, this is his name, whatever. But that was like too close. And then there's like pictures of the Pied Piper, like literally luring kids in the children's book. And I'm like, yo, that's kind of like, that's weird and gross. Then he called an album The Chocolate Factory based on Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And what did Willy Wonka do? Well, I have a fascination with children. I love kids and candy. And what happened in doggone Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory? He lured kids in to his, not lured, but, well, actually lured, I guess, if with the golden ticket thing. I'm not saying Willy Wonka did any of the stuff, but the Chocolate Factory situation in Willy Wonka Chocolate Factory with R. Kelly. And then they were talking about his music, how like he wrote I Believe I Could Fly because he saw like Michael Jordan and he's soaring. It's like he was flying. And then he wrote I Believe I Could Fly. And then you go back to the songs he wrote before. So now 12 Play, his first album, is 12 Play, whatever that means. Is that about girls 12 years old, 14 years old? Because he wrote AJ. Now, I didn't know this at the time, but R. Kelly, first of all, I didn't know he appeared on television with Aaliyah when she was 15. 15. He wrote Age Ain't Nothing But a Number for Aaliyah. And that was like, I sang that song I remember age ain't nothing but a number and a noun ain't nothing but a thing. I didn't know R. Kelly wrote that. And I didn't know he wrote it for her. So now when you have that in your mind, you're like, yo, what? Because it was like 15 and she was 30 at the time. So this part of the documentary was called Hiding in Plain Sight. And they were saying like a lot of his music was based on this stuff. So now you think about my mind's telling me no, but my body's telling me yes. Now, are you saying my mind's telling me no because I know this is wrong and she is a child, but my body's telling me yes because I'm attracted to her? And now I want to be with this young girl because, I know I shouldn't be doing this. And then him saying, I don't see nothing wrong with a little bump and grind. Bruh, I was like, yo, he was low-key telling us the whole time. Seems like you're ready. Is that because she's young? And now she's 14, but it seems like she's ready. So now I'm like, yo, this dude is or has or was kind of always telling us about this, telling us about his fascination in his name, in his album titles, in his music, in his lyrics. He kind of was always telling us about it, and we either didn't know or didn't care. And honestly, I got to go back to being honest. When I heard about the P thing, I still listen to Trap in the Closet. I still listen to Step in the Name of Love. I still listen to like all of it. So now I want to talk about how people are going back and forth. Well, should you still support him? And I want to talk about how I feel personally. Even before seeing this documentary, I couldn't do it no more. I think sex slaves, that probably drew the line for me. And I was just like, I can't do that. Now, knowing this whole argument, can you separate art from the artist? This is what we talked about with Kanye as well. Can you separate art from the artist? Louis C.K. is a comedian who was, you caught up in the Me Too movement, but if you like his jokes, can you still support him? Bill Cosby, he was, all these allegations and what he pled guilty to, but is the Cosby Show still a good show? Can you still watch the show? Now, here's the thing for R. Kelly. Now, I'll talk about the Cosby Show first. The Cosby Show, it doesn't come on anymore. I haven't seen it on in a while. That is a show that's unrelated to Bill Cosby's personality. Now, just let me finish my thought. This is a show about a family, and he's a dad in the family, and it's about life lessons and stuff like that, okay? And he has his allegations. R. Kelly's music is about having sex. It's sex-based music. Apparently, it does still come on. Sex-based music, which now you know, if you didn't know, more than likely was inspired by writing to young girls. Okay? So me, Kevin Fredericks, I personally had to, I had to take the songs off. Like when he would come on my 90s R&B playlist, I would be grooving, Keith Sweat comes in, bow, Uncle Sam, boo, Escape comes in, bow, Boyz II Men, whatever, Drew Hill. But when R. Kelly came on, I was just like, nah, I can't really vibe to this. Cause now I'm just like, I can't really separate that music from that person when they are like synonymous. And I was talking, one of the psychologists was saying that, the way people get away with this is either hiding in plain sight or they're like so overtly sexual with their lyrics, music, and content. And like, and this was like unreal. I'd never been to an R. Kelly concert in my life. Never really had any interest in going. But he was like, he would have like women taking a towel and like wiping his sweat off his beard, and he's licking the towel, and they be grabbing him all like down here. He's humping, and they're like, he like stick his body out, and they be grabbing all on him. And I'm just like, yo, that's like, I cannot do that. Like, that ain't like, obviously he's not making music for me. It's for women or whatever. And his concert, his live experience is for women. But like licking the towel and wiping the beard and grabbing on the balls, I'm like, bruh, nah. I don't want nothing to do with none of that. Like, and that's why it's not hard to believe, like when his content is like that, and his music is like that, and these allegations are like that, it's not hard to believe he has sex slaves. I don't want to use that term if it's dismissive, but women who can't leave his house and are like used for sex. I don't know. I guess sex slaves is the term. So now there's this whole thing, this whole argument of like, well, we back to tearing down the black man. And this is what happens. And really, this whole thing is how rape culture works, okay? It starts with calling young girls fast, because I saw a lot on Twitter. Well, if you're a young, men, if you're a young girl and you're looking up to to older men and lying about your age and going to the club, then you are setting yourself up to be raped, right? So what you're doing is saying, you're not saying as a man, you are taking advantage of a young girl. You're saying a 14-year-old girl who lies to an older man to get his interest, she should now be responsible for that, what happens to her, because she's 14 and she knows lying is wrong. As opposed to saying, I'm a 30-year-old man, I know that if this girl is 14 or whatever, it's my responsibility as a man to say, hey, young lady, like this you really shouldn't even be back here. This is not for you. It's like people always like, well, oh, you always ask, should men have to check IDs? Well, let me just put this. Okay, so let's stop for a second and say, is it illegal to have sex with an underage girl? Okay. Yes, it's illegal. Okay. So how do you prevent yourself from having sex with an underage girl? Well, I guess you could check her ID. You could make sure she looks young. I mean, I get a lot of young girls look older. Let me see your ID. Let me see proof of identification. Now, why should a man have to do all that? Okay. Let's use this as another example. Is it illegal to run a red light? Is it illegal to run past a stop sign? Does anybody complain when you say I have to stop at a stop sign? Because the law says I have to stop by, and even there's nobody around, I should have to stop by a stop sign? Well, it's illegal. You expect me, stealing's illegal, but as a man, I'm hungry. You expect me not to steal, and now it's my responsibility to go out and get a job and pay for food when I could just steal it? Well, it's illegal to steal. So yes, if you don't want to go to jail or you don't want to commit a crime, then maybe if you feel so, I've got to check ID, well, then maybe if you don't check ID, then maybe when you get arrested, you should not be surprised. Because the person that you are with is underage. It is your responsibility. And why are we putting the onus on women? And this is also part of rape culture. Victim blaming. We got to train our girls. You can't dress like this. You can't do this. You can't do that. Rape culture never says, hey, men, how about you don't have sex with girls without their consent? How about you don't have sex with girls that are underage? Even me as a married man, I don't even want to be caught in and not even talking about young girls, just any woman. I don't even want to be caught in a room alone with a woman where it could be my word against hers. Because, hey, man, you know what? I'm married. You want to ride with me to a place? Let me make sure there's somebody else in the car. I'm going to make sure that I'm not in a position where I can do anything to where it looks like I was in the wrong. So why is R. Kelly 21 years old, 30 years old? Why are we blaming a 14-year-old for lying, even if she did lie? And a lot of these girls didn't even say they lied. They were like, no, I'm 14. So why are we putting all the onus on a 14-year-old girl, 15-year-old girl, and not on a grown man who is purposely doing this stuff to make sure he can prey on these young girls. So why isn't, and men can take responsibility and all this other stuff. I pay my taxes, I do this, I do that, but well, check ID. I mean, now, you want me to get consent before I have sex? Well, that's going to take me out of the mood. Well, listen, man, if you feel like that, and this has kind of been my whole thing with the Me Too movement, because I ain't really have no problem with none of it. I don't feel like, well, they just taking away all this stuff. And if you are meeting women and engaging with women in the proper way, your chances of being falsely accused of rape are very low if you are not trying to rape people. If you're not engaging in, getting her drunk or drugs, or like Idris Elba said this too, like, the Me Too movement doesn't affect me at all. Cause I don't move in that situation. So all these people are like, oh my God, now I can't just grab their arm and ask them. I can't just send unsolicited pictures of myself. You want me to get her permission and all that? Sounds like a lie, but y'all killing the game. Well, that game probably needs to be killed. If that's how you got to move in order for things to work for you, then that old way of thinking you got to retrain your thought. And I see a lot of parents, oh, I'm so worried for my boys. What are my boys going to do? Here's how you protect your boys. You teach them about consent. I got young boys, 12 and 10. Okay. Let me tell them, hey, I've been talking to my boys about sex for a while, but the consent conversation, we've had to have more and more now. Hey, listen. And I told my kids, if you get in, interact with a girl as you get older, your chances, your first interaction with the girl, if you're thinking about doing sexual stuff with her, it's probably not the best time to do sexual stuff with her. The reason it's probably better for you to have a healthy relationship, because you're more easily able to read her body language if you know her. If you're having one night stands with girls, these are the conversations I'm going to have with them as they get over. You having one night stands with girls, you're more likely to have an issue where you can't read her body language. And maybe she is afraid, maybe she's not comfortable with these acts, but you don't know her very well, so you don't know what it looks like when she's scared or afraid. Okay. Now, if you want to introduce, if you're talking about having sex under the influence of alcohol and drugs, those things can alter your memory. Okay? They lower your inhibitions and they alter your memory. So you guys are both drinking and having a good time. And now not only do you not know her very well, but now her inhibitions are lowered and yours are lowered. You might push too far. She might not even know what's happening. So I think it's better for you you shouldn't probably have sex with a woman under the influence of any alcohol or drugs. If she's under the influence of alcohol, of any drugs, she had a drink or two, you know what? Thank you. Good night. We'll talk another day. Because now you are in trouble. And the thing is, maybe you're not doing anything wrong, but because you are not in a great position, now your right intentions can be deemed wrong. And maybe you don't know because you can't even read her signs. So I wouldn't recommend you have sex with girls who have been drinking, or you have sex with girls when you have been drinking, because you're not going to know what to do. You're not going to be able to read body language. Maybe she said, and a lot of times women don't say no overtly. They're just scared. So they allow something they're not really comfortable happening. And maybe when you are sober, you can read those body language cues more easily, or you can have a conversation. And if you don't feel comfortable doing that, having that conversation, then you shouldn't be having sex with her. If you're not comfortable having a conversation where you say, is this okay? Are you sure you want to do? I don't want to ruin the mood. You ruin the mood? You don't want to ruin the mood. You know what ruins the mood? Being in jail, being accused of rape, not being able to get a job, being labeled a sex offender. That ruins the mood of your life. So if you're not comfortable having those conversations, then maybe you should not be having sex with her. Okay? If she's comfortable, it won't ruin the mood. I have sex with my wife. There's some stuff I want to try. Hey, baby, you cool with this? Oh, that's fine. Or that's not fine. Doesn't ruin the mood. It don't ruin the mood at all. It's fine. So if you're having those conversations with your sons, Okay? Your sons, because now your sons are not preying on women. And also, here's another thing. Part of rape culture is, oh, if I catch my son in the room with a girl and he's too young, that's my boy. And here's another thing that I gotta admit, I was wrong on the thinking. If I catch my daughter in the room with a boy, it's shotgun, boom, boom, I'm blasting, I'm beating him up, blah, blah, blah. But if I catch my son in the room with a girl, oh, that's my boy. No. It needs to be equally wrong. It needs to be equally wrong. I need to keep the same energy with my son. If you're doing stuff, you shouldn't be too young. The same way I need to protect my son, I need to protect, someone else has to protect their daughter. So I don't need to make my son think it's cool to be having sex super young, being into girls super young, loving all that stuff, grabbing. Nah, because now I'm teaching him that stuff's cool. That stuff gets dad's approval. This is what men do. Because that's how I was raised. Oh, boy, you ain't been with no girl yet. You ain't had sex with no girl yet. So now as a kid, I'm like, man, I need to be having sex because this is what men do. So I'm pressuring girls. I'm hitting them up. What you want to do? Blah, blah, blah. Now I never did, I've never had non-consensual sex, but I had sex before I was married. But that was being around my older brothers and feeling like this is what I needed to do. And I'm 14, 15 years old. Like, I don't need to really be doing that at all. Right? But everybody's teaching me that. So now I'm talking to my kids like, bro, you don't even need to be tripping about that right now. Like, it's cool to not be interested in girls like that. You don't got to have a little girlfriend. You don't got to be kissing on her. It's cool to just be chilling. Just be at school. And maybe I can't influence his friends and how they think, but if his parents, if like, yeah, I mean, my friends are saying it, because you're like your parents, you're not the only one that has influence on your child, but you're the first one and you have influence. So at least I can have my kids going out and be like, you know what, man, like y'all on that stuff, but my dad, he told me that stuff ain't cool. And y'all do y'all, but I ain't cool with that. So I'm cool. Y'all do you. That's not me. So now maybe my son is influencing his friends, but I gotta chill. I mean, I never done this with my kids, but men, we gotta chill with yeah, let's go. That's my boy. Oh, you kissing girls? You up and girl? You got a girl in your room? Nah, all that stuff is not cool because what leads a big part of rape culture is shame. We shame these young girls. Oh, you fast. Look at these young little fast girls. You get caught up. You should be. There's a lot of pressure that we put on women, especially. And in R. Kelly's case, a lot of pressure that we put on a lot of pressure and responsibility we're putting on young women who are having to defend themselves against a grown man. As opposed to putting that pressure and onus on the man in the relationship. So now little girls are fat, and here goes women. You got it. When we say protect our girls, teach your girls, what do we say? Watch how you dress, watch who you hang out with, watch how you dance, watch how you go out in the club. So now they're like preparing their life to be preyed upon on men. We're teaching men the way to get a woman is to pursue her. If she says no, you got to be persistent. So we're teaching men to pursue and pressure, and that's how you get a girl in a relationship. Not even about sex. She says no to her number. You think the first time I married your mother, she said no, I walked away. So that's the first thing. The first no usually isn't sex. The first no is I pursued her, she said no. So we're teaching men to be predatory, and then we're blaming women for being victims. Because in a rape defense, and this is still to this day in the court of law, when you have a rape trial, what's the first thing they're going to do? She was drunk. She wanted it. She was all alone. If she didn't want to have sex, she shouldn't have been dressed like that. She shouldn't have been drunk. Oh, now women, y'all can't even go out. You go out and drink. If you go out dressed like that and get drunk, what are you expecting? You are inviting this type of behavior. Nobody ever tells men to go out. Men go out in groups. Watch what you wear. Make sure your shirt's buttoned up to the top. Because if you don't, because what? Because women are not taught to be predatory to men. So men have no fear of being raped. So we don't, this whole Me Too conversation, I remember somebody was tweeting about men, have you ever thought about calling someone because you feel scared, or walking with your keys clutched, or looking around, in a dark out, or when you're walking home? Like, I realize I have the privilege of not feeling like someone's always going to jump out of the bushes and attack me. So I'm not aware of my surroundings all the time. I never walk with my keys in my hand to protect myself. I never have to call somebody, be like, hey, I'm on the phone because, right now I'm going here. Make sure if you don't hear from me, I never have to do all that stuff because I'm not worried that someone's going to attack me. But women have to do I asked my wife this, like, hey, have you ever did that? She was like, Kevin, countless times. There's countless times that she was like, there's countless times that I've called you because I felt like something wasn't right and I just wanted to make sure I was safe because something felt off. And I'm just talking to her because she called, like, yeah, hey, babe, what's going on? All the way since we were dating in college, like, I had no idea. So what happens, and this is male privilege, we think because we don't live and move like that nobody else does, that women don't have to live like that. They don't have to think about these things. And just because we don't deal with it doesn't mean they don't. So if anything, this whole R. Kelly documentary told me that rape culture, it's not just R. Kelly. He benefited from rape culture. He benefited from us not caring about women, definitely not caring about black women, for shaming women, for not holding people who have an amazing talent to the same accountability as other people. So there's no way he's able to do this for 20, 30 years if we don't have a culture that thrives on this. So there's so much stuff that we all have to work on so that little girls don't have, because here's the other thing about it, right? It's not just R. Kelly. It's family members, it's doctors, it's Dr. Larry Nassar, the doctor who abused all those gymnasts. More victims, as much or more victims than R. Kelly. Okay, so if R. Kelly, who's a famous singer, can get away with all this, and then there's a doctor who can get away with this, pastors, teachers, family members, why do you think people can get away with this? Because the same philosophy is there. The same philosophy that makes little girls who are 12 and 13-year-old gymnasts afraid to tell their parents about the doctor, or when they tell their parents about the doctor, nobody believes them, or they tell their parents about the doctor or the school about the doctor, and this doctor's so good, or they don't want to mess up the esteemness of the university or the program. Then Dr. Larry Nassar is able to do this for 30 years because he also benefits from rape culture. It's not just R. Kelly. It's him and it's people in our communities also. Because really, if you think about it, if you're a little girl and you say, so-and-so touched me, what are you going to do? Who are you going to believe? Oh, no, girl, you didn't even remember that right. You didn't remember that right. He didn't do that. He would never do that. So now that she's spoken up once, even if she has the ability and the courage to speak up once, and you're not believed once, now that predator, oh, I know, I can get away with this all the time. Because now the little girl's like, man, maybe I deserve this. So there's really, really, really a lot more to do with it. And the other part about it is, to this day, even after watching this documentary, watching all this evidence, and this is not one woman, not two women. This is, 10, 15 women over years. There's still people who are still to this day defending R. Kelly. I'm listening to his music. These women are lying. That's what's wrong. Y'all want to tear the black man down. Bro, how much? There was literally video evidence. Video evidence And people are still like, nah, man, we don't know. Y'all don't know this every time a black man. So now if I'm R. Kelly, if every time something happens, y'all trying to destroy the black man, that's what I'm saying, y'all. And R. Kelly, the video of him on Facebook Live, they trying to destroy me and it ain't gonna happen. Guess what? Some people need to be destroyed. If you moving and acting like the way R. Kelly was moving and acting and the thing is, this dude started in the 90s, late 80s, and the sex slave stuff was last year. And these people are saying out of their mouth, I'm terrified, but I'm going to get on camera and admit to you, no blur. Here's my legal name. Here's how old I was. There's countless women. People still don't believe them. How do you think it feels to have to relive those moments? Because he gets to go on with his life, spend his money, what else? And they got to live with that every day. People calling them liar every day for something that they know they had to endure. What could we believe? There's people who worked for him, who said, I was the one who got him an underage girl. I then saw him have sex with the underage girl, and I didn't say anything, and people are still like, we tearing him down. What does it take? What does it take to believe these women? What does it take? It's their word. It's the person's word who set it up, the person's word who set it up and saw it, and in some cases, video evidence. And we still don't believe them? Fam, what can they do? I don't understand what will it take? And here's one thing I hate. I'm gonna be honest, I don't think I've ever said this out loud. Well, I've got a daughter too. Well, does it always have to come down to me? I don't have a daughter. That doesn't mean I have to think about, well, if I had a daughter, he did. I don't have a daughter. Oh, my mothers and our sisters bruh. These are just people. His brother on the documentary was like, so what? I like older girls. He likes younger girls. No, that's not the same. Okay, if you're 20 and you like 30-year-old women, 30-year-old women are able to consent. If you're 20 and you like 14-year-old women, that's a crime. It's not like saying I like tall women, I like short women. His brother was like, that's a preference. No. Your preference can't be illegal. Your preference must be consensual. I like black women who are dark-skinned. My wife. I like tall women. I like short women who like outdoor activities. I like women who like playing sports. Those are preferences. I like women who are interested in movies and arts and films. Oh, I like women who like to travel. Those are preferences. I like children is a crime. Preference, crime. Preference, crime. A preference is chocolate ice cream over strawberry. Steal ice cream is a crime. Okay? I think that's all I have to say about this. I didn't realize I had this much to say about it. So, let's be better, men. Let's be better. Let's be better than that. Let's be better as people. Let's be believing people when they have these stories. Let's investigate and let's take some people's word for it. All right? I love you. God bless you. God keep you. We'll see you at the conference.